Anybody find any place in their life where they're doing any of those behaviors? Right? There's so much head nodding, there's so much agreement in this idea. For me, it goes back to speaking to the fact that we're all in the same boat, right? Like, these things are pretty darn universal, and we as humans tend to have pretty darn universal ways of avoiding things, hiding from things, doing things, trying to escape or confront. And the universality of this is really what brings all of us together. And so, you know, if you are dealing with something like it, and if you've ever had that thought, well, maybe I'm the only one. Look around the room, look around all the heads nodding, and realize you're not the only one. This is very human behavior. The issue is not that these things happen. We all do them, we all go through it. The question is, what are you going to do when you realize you're off purpose? There tends to be, there's that moment, right? You're going down the road, you're doing your thing, and then you realize you are in error, one way or another. Somehow it dawns on you, whether that is slow dawning self-realization, or whether it is you run right into something that alerts you to the fact that you are off point. There's tons of things that happen, or that can happen in that moment. Number one, right, I could immediately deny it. No, I'm not off course, this isn't wrong. So we could deny it. We could get very angry about it. Oh, I'm off course, I can't believe I'm off course. We could get really sad about it. I can't believe I'm off course. Again, we could blame other people, we could complain about the nature of this whole thing. There's all these behaviors that we can engage in, but at the end of the day, if anything's going to change, after you go through dramatizing all those behaviors and blaming other people, wishing you were otherwise, and being mad at yourself, you're just gonna have to refocus. You're gonna have to turn around and get your attention back on what matters to you. So all these behaviors, which you are free to go through, the only one that really matters is what happens when we're done with all of that and we get ourselves back on track. And that's really what confront is all about. When we find that we have exceeded our confront and our attention is no longer where we intend, one, we must notice it. You have to become aware of it, because until you're aware of it, you're going to proceed in error. You're going to proceed down that path of complaining or having your attention on the thing that is not intentional for you. And as we know about driving results, what that means is you're going to spend a fair period of time generating results that, rather than being intentional results, are accidental results. You're going to be generating results. You're still having influence. You're still leading. You're just maybe not leading in the way and in the place that you wanted to. So go down that road as far as you like. When you realize it, there's some choices available to you. The easiest one is just stopping and refocusing. And sometimes it's that simple. Sometimes you realize I am barking up the wrong tree here. This is not what I want. And sometimes that simple realization itself is enough, and it's close enough to being within your means that you just refocus on what you want. Great. If that's the case, good going. You're immediately back to moving in the direction that you want. You're immediately back to breathing life into the values that you want and generating the type of results that you want. If you can't just turn around and put your attention back on what you're after, there are a number of choices available to you. Usually the easiest one is breaking it down, getting a smaller piece in front of you. I realize I'm off purpose because that goal was too big, so what can I do? Well, I can get in this car and I can go to the store and I can see what's at the store. Great, simple step, right? Break it down into something smaller that allows you to get traction again. Traction is one of those things, I don't know if you've ever lost traction in a vehicle. If you try to generate a ton of traction from there, you're probably just going to continue to lose traction. Usually when you lose traction, you have to get a tiny bit of traction, just a little bit of movement. And movement begets movement. So it really doesn't matter if you are off course, if you realize it and you can choose something small to start moving forward on. So getting that smaller goal, if that's available to you, finding that smaller step that you can take that you feel confident about, again, often that's all you need. Other times, that may not be available to you. Other times that may not make sense. So in that case, we will refer to this whole notion that I'm so glad Martha brought up as well. Another leader saying, ask for help. Ask for help. I think we chatted before, shortcuts, right? The only real shortcut, there's two real shortcuts, and it's education, getting educated so you know where to place your attention, and it's getting outside cooperation, somebody else to help you place your attention in the right place. They both boil down to this whole getting the attention back where you want. And if you don't know how to do that, and if you can't think of a small enough goal to get traction, ask somebody who's been there before. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be somebody who's been there before, just getting an outside perspective. How many times have you seen somebody else, not you, somebody else accept a stop? Like, they just quit, like, oh, my paper fell. Huh, darn. You're like, well, dude, pick it up, turn it over. Seems pretty obvious, but that person, well, I don't know what to do now. And you see somebody else have that stop, and you're like, oh, the answer is simple, right? And the answer is often simple to somebody who's not in your particular place. Sometimes our being in the moment occludes our vision, and all you need is to run things by somebody else. How many of you have confidants, people that you share your thoughts with and check your thoughts with? Everybody in the room? So valuable, right? I cannot imagine making any sort of serious decision in my life without checking, hey, I was thinking about this thing, what do you think? For me, it looks good to me. You see anything here that I'm not seeing? And because I always want to double check my thinking. The more important it is, the more people I reach out and check and make certain, because I know each and every one of you has a different point of view. So if I ask you, I'm going to get something from where he sits, and that may be very helpful. But I know by asking her, I'm going to get something completely different. And having multiple perspectives on the subject are going to give me that traction. So notice it, refocus, break it down into smaller pieces, ask for help, and then the other one, which again we alluded to last time, is if none of these things are available to you, look at the goal itself, refine the goal, shift what you're after in that situation to something that actually is doable enough to get you traction. Do those ideas make sense? Questions, comments, considerations about any of that? Tony?
When I was thinking of this, I felt a couple of topics in the first one where I was blaming myself a lot, actually. So is that, would you consider that healthy because I'm bringing it back to me and figuring it out? Or is it hurtful to my psyche, ego, whatever you call it?
Fantastic. Did everybody hear that? I don't know how the room is here. He's talking about realizing mistakes he's making and blaming himself. Is it healthy to blame yourself because you're at least pointing the finger in the right direction, or is that harmful to yourself? What are your thoughts?
If it affects your ability to move forward, then it's hurtful.
Yes, if it affects your ability to move forward, it's hurtful. Great. Any other thoughts, Kelly? Changing the language around it. The acknowledging part is completely fine. Shelley, your hand came up. No, it didn't. That's it. I'm just going to start imagining things. No, David, what did you want to say?
No, I agree.
Yeah, so there are so many truths, right? Because he's kind of asking, like, what's true here? Everybody understand that? What's true? He wants to know what's true. There are a lot of things that are true. The bottom line is, does that truth serve you? Does that truth move you forward? For some people, blaming themselves is just the first step. Yeah, I totally blame myself for that. And all that means to me is, it was within my capacity to do something about it, and I immediately move on to the next step. And I go, yeah, that was my fault. You know what I could have done is I could have waited and asked you a follow-up question. Great. And so I take blaming myself right into the next step of responsibility and examining what I would do next, in which case I think blaming myself is fine, right? But if blaming myself means I'm bad, I'm wrong, and then our attention just stays on that part, I think we're all bad and wrong from time to time. I think there's something behind that going like, I'm bad in a way I shouldn't be bad. I made a mistake in a way that no one else makes mistakes, and I'm somehow worse than all the rest of you. That I would not say is very helpful. Which one are you doing, Kelly?
It depends on what work personal. I mean, it's just different things. I kept thinking, well, I blame myself for leniency and that I do avoid certain things. And like my self-assessment's due tomorrow, and I blame myself for that. You know, I can't blame the fact that there's a lot of work to do and other people putting a lot on me, but really I set aside time somewhere in the day to do it. But I think overall, I think it is acknowledging more than a negative
Good.
blame. That was very helpful here to reword it, to
Yeah.
acknowledge.
Yeah, reoriented, yes, Dan?
Blaming is part of self-awareness too, right? You should know your shortcomings.
Oh, short joke, I got it.
Yeah, you should know, I think it's important you know yourself, right? So I agree, it's not necessarily blame, you're just going, okay, didn't do this, I know I'm a guy that's gonna wait till the last minute to do my self-assessment, blah, 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 so I shouldn't be surprised that I'm here at 8:30 in the morning trying to record it into my phone while I'm driving.
Yeah. We all do these things, right? Is there anybody here who has not done any of these things? Right? Notice nobody's hand went up. We're all in the same boat. There's nothing wrong with blaming or understanding your responsibility in a situation. There's nothing wrong with having made mistakes. There's nothing wrong with not knowing what you don't know, right? Because we are all, wherever we are on your individual path, journey, you are a result of all of the things that you've experienced. Now the question is, how mindfully and consciously are we moving forward? To the degree that you're doing it consciously, you are putting your best foot forward. You're giving yourself your best chance to succeed. And I think that we often have this very big preoccupation with the notion of being successful and with the notion of success itself, and the idea that if you're a leader, then you're always successful, or as a leader, I should be successful. All these notions get spun about up there. But the truth is, the idea that I should win right now, whatever win means, I should succeed right now, only holds merit if I really do deserve to win. In the sense, like if I've done my work and I'm prepared and I've done all those things, then I do. If I haven't done those things, what really should happen is I should fail here. I absolutely should fail. Failing is a part of leadership. Making a mistake is a part of leadership. If I haven't been here before, there's no reason why I should just somehow miraculously navigate this situation that I've never been in and know my way out of it. That's just not real. You know how we get through those situations? We take a look, we make our best guess about what step seems solid, and we take that step. And you get feedback, and either that ground is solid, and that was a good first step, or you're like, ooh, what I thought was a good first step, maybe not, maybe let's go in this direction. And that is absolutely what should happen. When we are on the edge of our knowledge, and I hope, to goodness sake, you are all on the edge of your knowledge somewhere, right? I mean, really, who wants to live well within the confines of their knowledge, right? Your comfort zone is one of those things that is either slowly expanding or slowly contracting. There is absolutely no static thing there. If you just want to stay where you already know things, and you don't want to make mistakes, and you just want to stay with what's comfortable for you, after a while, what will happen is out of your group of things you're comfortable with, you'll start developing preferences. You'll say, well, out of my comfort zone, I really prefer these things. And then out of your preferences, you'll be like, out of those preferences, these are kind of my favorite. Out of my favorites, these are the only things I really like to do. And all of a sudden, your comfort zone has become quite small. And all that really means is that everything other than a select few choices starts to feel difficult to you. And it starts to feel uncomfortable to you. And that wouldn't be a problem if you were comfortable in difficult situations. That wouldn't be a problem if you were comfortable being uncomfortable. And that is really what this whole notion of confront is about. If you'd like to create, if you'd like to grow your confront by leaps and bounds in a very easy way, I will tell you how to do it. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Decide that it is okay for you to be uncomfortable. Because it is. This is one of those, this is true. It's a truth. It's okay for you to be uncomfortable. This truth actually serves you. This truth will make you more resilient. If you shy away from being uncomfortable, next month we're going to talk about difficult conversations. Boy, that's going to be fun, right? So if you shy away from being uncomfortable, you are adding weight to your path forward, right? Because for you to gain new ground, there is almost always going to be an element of discomfort to it. This is what learning means. Growth is always predicated on making new connections. And that means connecting from where you are to something you don't know. How do you connect to something you don't know? You have to go through this gulf of uncertainty in order to do that. And so, uncertainty, discomfort, these are your friends, right? If you think of difficulty and uncertainty as something you'd like to move away from, you are making it harder than it has to be. We'll just put it that way. You're making it harder than it has to be. So what we would like to do is we would like to take that notion of being uncomfortable and have you realize something. If you are uncomfortable, you are on the cusp of something new. I mean, what would happen if every bit of discomfort and or difficulty you started to feel, what if you recognized that not as something to shy away from, but something that meant, oh, I don't know my way here yet. I'm about to learn something new. I'm going to leave this event with knowledge I did not have before this event. Is that an exciting notion? I'm going to grow. I'm going to step away from this. I'm going to get better at this thing. Because our discomfort simply means you don't know how to address it well. Because again, let's go back to, oh no, I've dropped my paper. And I really did. Is this uncomfortable for me? No, because I know how to pick it up. Does this represent a problem for me? No, I just, oh, my paper fell. No discomfort. I mean, it was something that did not go the way I wanted. It was different than my intention. And yet, because I know how to handle it, you just handle it. All of the things that currently make you uncomfortable are things that perhaps, with time and attention, you will get to that point with. It's just something I don't know how to do well yet. Does that make sense? Thoughts, feelings, questions, comments? Yes?
I put on my YouTube social media for Iron Life,
Mm-hmm.
and the most uncomfortable thing right now is being a talking head.
Yes.
And that's what I've done the last 2 days. And it's like, it's crazy, but that's the first thing that does me.
Yeah.
I'm super uncomfortable doing it.
Yes.
But day 2 would be.
Yes. Yes. And day 3 will be easier than day 2. Day 4 will be easier than day 3. Day 5, though, that's a killer. I mean, if you could just skip day 5 and go right to day 6, that would be great, right? Anybody else? Thoughts, feelings? Yes, Cecily?
Speaking of being uncomfortable, I would have a question. Blaming yourself, like he's mentioned there. Blaming yourself versus other blaming you. Which one is much more uncomfortable? For my opinion, I would say blaming yourself is easier. Receiving blame from others is harder.
Okay.
But at the same time, learn how to accept, learn how to listen to the blame is another opportunity to grow. I have a lot of conflict when he said that blaming. Blaming yourself is something that in him is highly accountable and responsible for things. But I want to blame anyone else except myself. That's what the high accountability thinking is there. But at the same time, vulnerability is maybe not wanting to seek for help because feeling uncomfortable when other people point out things that you don't want to hear, but the truth. I'm speaking a little at you, but it might be
So the difference between blaming yourself and being blamed by others, which one is more difficult or whatnot, it depends upon your point of view and it depends upon where you leave it. Neither of them are a bad thing. It just depends upon where we go. Somebody blaming you for something, again, is feedback, right? From your point of view, I did something in error. Thank you for telling me. I would much prefer you tell me that I've done something wrong than you think I've done something wrong and not tell me. Because if you think I've done something wrong and you're not telling me, I'm stepping on your toe and I don't know it. And you won't speak up and say my actions are impinging on you. Since I don't know I'm doing that wrong, I'm likely to continue doing that, right? So being blamed by somebody else is nothing more than getting feedback from people. And you, again, if you're comfortable being uncomfortable, then you can really enjoy getting feedback. Wow, I had no idea that was offending. Thank you so much for telling me, because it certainly wasn't my intention to offend you. Now, what if he blames me for offending him, and, oh, man, I mean, and we think his complaint or his blame is way off base. I mean, like, you didn't say anything offensive. I don't know why that person took offense. Right? Anybody get in that situation where you're blamed for something that you believe, yes, Dan, I know you get blamed for a lot. You're blamed for something that you believe it's spurious or it lacks merit. And did that ever happen to anybody? Doesn't really matter, right? Somebody blaming you is just a communication that they feel this way. Thank you. Whether it has merit or not, it's good for me to know that, and it's more information for me to navigate further. Again, why would I defend myself from this information? Right? It's all just information that helps me do a better job moving forward. So this dealing with difficulty, being uncomfortable, these things are a huge part of developing our confront. Our confront is something that we can build over time and get better at. What you will notice is there are some things that you are probably really good at confronting. Maybe you're really good at doing social media and I couldn't possibly do that thing. But I'm really good over here and you can't imagine doing that thing. This is why we talk to people. This is why we have friends. This is why we explore these whole ideas, which goes back to communicating, right? It goes back to this notion of being open and upfront. So in the same vein that building a relationship before you need it is important, being honest about who you are before it's necessary is important too. Like just being upfront about who you are, about what matters to you, about what you might be struggling with, about what you're super excited about, what you're proud of. Because if you share something with me about something you're really proud of, I go, oh wow, that really matters to her, cool. And then the next time, well, in between sessions, last month I saw a thing that was related to that thing, so we come talk about it. and all of a sudden, something that matters to you gets forwarded merely because you were open and communicative about what mattered to you, right? These things are, the way in which we share attention. We talk about that notion of attention driving results, but I only have so much attention. If I share the goal, and this is what, again, Martha was talking about, getting a group of people aligned behind a particular goal, we have to communicate about that goal. We have to communicate about that idea in a way that makes sense to everybody, so that when other people see that idea, they know how to contribute to that idea. And all of a sudden, it's not just me paying attention to that goal, we have everyone invested in putting their attention on that goal. And there's no way any one person, even the architect of the goal, could understand as much as having everyone's attention on it and getting feedback from everybody. So attention drives our results. Where is our attention going?